Hi there, welcome back to Ms. Johnson's ELA mini lessons. We're going to continue on reading from our Weather and Climate magazine. We're actually going to read a news story today, and we are going to talk about a summary today. So what I want you to do first is take out your Weather and Climate book and turn to page 12. We're going to be reading a story today. Okay, so what I want you to do first is turn to page 12 and 13. We are reading a story today. So go ahead and kind of picture walk through it like what we did with our other texts. Picture walk through it and look at the pictures, look at any different types of text that you see, and then we'll kind of talk about it really quickly. Go. So the purpose of a picture walk through a story is so you can kind of look and see some of the things that you're going to be reading about, and it's a great way to make predictions, make connections, and just kind of highlight a couple of things. So I'm going to highlight some things that I found in this story. On page 12, the title is called Water, Sky. Okay, that's the title of the story. I see the author right here, and I see something that we talked about couple episodes ago on ELA mini lessons. I noticed something about this text right here. I noticed it's different than the rest of the paragraph, so I'm just going to keep that in mind. And then I see chapter 1, so it looks like we're going to be reading the first chapter. See a photograph of somebody in a plane. And one more thing that I want to talk about is the genre. This is the genre right here. It is called realistic fiction. So realistic fiction is exactly how it sounds. It is a fictional story, which means it is made up, but it could have happened because it's like realistic enough to happen, okay? So what we're gonna do today is we are going to read the story and we are going to create a summary. Now, I have kind of a brief description on what a summary is, and then we'll get into the reading. So here we go. Okay, so a summary has 5 key components that we are going to talk about. First of all, it retells the main events of a story in a short version. So a summary is not very long. It's very quick, 1, 2, maybe 3 sentences about what happens in the story, the main events. We'll get to the main events later. What each of these fingers on my little hand does is it kind of identifies things that you should be looking for through a story. So the first one, the thumb, is somebody. Who is the story about and where does it take place? So you need to identify the characters and kind of the setting. Wanted is number 2, and what does the character want, or what is the character doing in the story? But is what is the problem of the story? So but usually a story introduces a problem that the character needs to solve. Then is how does the character solve the problem? So the solution to the story, and so is how does the story end? So that is somebody wanted but then so, and this is how you can kind of write it out. So you can go blank, wanted blank, but blank, then blank, so blank. So it's just a great way to kind of guide your summary and guide your thinking as well. So as we're reading our story, we should be thinking of who and where, what do they want, what's the problem, what is the solution, and how does the story end. For problem and solution, you need to include important events in the beginning, the middle, and the end when you're creating a summary. So all we're going to be doing today is reading the first part of the story. So we're going to be reading from page 12 to page 16. On page 16, right below paragraph 16, draw a line. So we're going to read paragraphs 1 through 16 today, and I'm actually going to read the paragraphs out loud to you, and I would like you to look for key events. So you're looking for events that are going to help you write a summary, and you're looking for things that are important to the story. Important meaning what are big things that happen in the story that kind of help guide you to create a summary. Okay, so turn to page 12. The title is called Water, Sky. Don't really have any predictions about that right now. We're just going to kind of keep going on. It's by Jean Greghead George. There's a little 1 next to it, which means it is a footnote. I'm going to go down to the bottom where it says Jean Greghead George, 1919 to 2012, was an American writer of more than 100 books for children and young adults, including the Newbery Medal winner Julie of the Wolves. Okay, so that's just a little information about who our author is, which is always great information to have. Really important storyteller. Okay, so remember how I pointed out this first paragraph? We're going to read it and kind of identify what this paragraph does. So water sky, notice how water sky is not, we call these words right here italicized. Italicized just means they're kind of fancy looking. Water sky is not italicized, but it says, is an American novel about a boy named Lincoln Noah Stonewright who is visiting the family of an Inuit whaling captain in Alaska. In this opening chapter, the author describes Lincoln's arrival to the new climate. Okay, so what this does right here is it's an introduction. It introduces the story. First of all, Water Sky is a novel, which means it's a book. It's about a boy named Lincoln Noah Stonewright, so we kind of already have our somebody. And he's visiting his family in Alaska, so we have a little bit of the setting too. In the opening chapter, the author describes Lincoln's arrival to the new climate. So the new climate has to do with our weather and climate connection. Okay, so we are going to be reading this story today, and we are going to be identifying key events. So key events are going to help us answer these kind of 5 questions right here. The people, the setting, the what do they want, problem, solution, and the ending, okay? So when we're looking at key events, we're looking for things that are really important to the story. And what we're going to do is we're going to read it together, and we're going to underline the key events. After we read and underline them, we're going to write down key events in our graphic organizer, and then we're going to actually create a summary. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just read the story to you. I'm going to read the story, and I want you to take a pencil or a pen, and I want you to underline and highlight, circle, anything that kind of stands out to you right now. What you're supposed to be looking for are key events to answer any of these 5 things. Who, what do they want, what's the problem, solution, and the ending, okay? That should guide your thinking a little bit further, and let's go. Chapter 1, Lincoln. A boy in a bright blue ski jacket and Maine hunting boots stood on a snowy runway. Under rumpled black hair, his crooked nose and wide brown eyes gave him an expression of good humor, although he was not amused at this moment. Yesterday he had left Boston and laid over in Anchorage in high spirits. Now he was about to run back to the friendly jet that had carried him across Alaska to the barren Arctic outpost. Suddenly a cloud of frozen fog swirled over him. He could not see the plane or the sky or the flat snowscape that rolled endlessly out beyond the airport. Wrapped in an Arctic wiped out, he could have been upside down or otherwise for all he could tell. And so he stood still. In a few minutes he was standing in the sunshine again. The terror of the tundra blew over. Okay, so 2 things that happen on page 12. First of all, we know that Lincoln is from Boston, so I think that's important for somebody, right? His name is Lincoln, and he is from Boston traveling to Alaska. Event number 1. Event number 2, there's a blizzard, right? So we're learning about weather and climate. He's moving from Boston to Alaska. Alaska is a very different environment, and a blizzard happened. That's got to be kind of intense. Page 13. He turned and ran to the airport terminal, his face happy with purpose. He was going to do what he had come to Barrow, Alaska to do. He did not look back again. Inside the squat building, he waited until his eyes adjusted to the dim light, then nervously scanned the faces for the people who had wanted to come meet the passengers. No face satisfied him. He repeated the words of the man to whom he and his father had talked by telephone several months ago. You will know me by my blue-rimmed sunglasses, Vincent Olgach had said. The boy glanced from face to face. There was no one with the blue-rimmed glasses. Okay, so the blue-rimmed glasses is not an important event. The important event that's happening here is who Lincoln is looking for? Lincoln is looking for this man named Vincent Olga. Event number 3. You, Lincoln, know a stone, right? The boy spun around and his eyes met those of another boy. Page 14. Yes, I am. Oh, yes, I am. I'm Cusick. Cusick wore a red woolen hat pulled down to his black eyebrows. A ruff of wolverine fur circled his darkly tanned face in a rising sun. He was dressed in white except for his sealskin boots. They were silver fur with a checkered border of black and white fur. As Lincoln shook Cusick's hand, his family's old photographs of Eskimos came to mind. I have walked into those pictures, he said to himself. Everything is the same. The clothes, the boots, the faces. He stood quickly, wondering what to do next. How are you? The young Eskimo asked. I'm here. I'm glad you're here. His exceptionally dark eyes were slanted upward as if he were perpetually smiling. His cheeks were broad and high, like those of the Eskimos in the painting that hung above the fireplace in Lincoln's home. It had been a centerpiece for his childhood thoughts on rainy days and snowy nights. The painting depicted his great-great-grandfather's whaling ship frozen in the Arctic ice for the winter. Kids like Cusick were playing baseball on the ice with the adult Eskimos and the Yankee whalers, as the whalers from Boston and New York were called. Lincoln managed to smile at Cusick. So there's a lot of details in there that I'm not sure are key events. Maybe the event is this boy that he has met, Cusick. He's Eskimo. He's a person who is Eskimo. Probably an event. Continue on. Vincent Olgok is sorry he cannot meet you. Cusick said he is not well. That's the event, right? Something big has happened. Vincent is in there to pick him up. Page 15. Lincoln breathed deeply to quell the panic that was rising in him. For 4 months, he had thought about this man who was going to meet him in the airport. When he awoke that night, he would clutch his pillow and wonder how living with an Eskimo family would go. Then he would think of Vincent Olgok, his father's good friend. He was once mayor of an enormous North Slope borough in 88,000 square miles and 4,000 people. His father said, but he is a soft-spoken. He is one of the best whaling captains who ever lived. But he loves all whales. He is a scientist who goes beyond technology. He knows what the animals think and what the sea ice says. But most important, he is a loving man, a big man. When Lincoln had thought about meeting Vincent Olgok, he had felt better about going so far from home. He had gone back to sleep. Now he was frightened that Vincent was not there. Okay, so Vincent's not there to pick him up, and he's frightened. Kind of the events. Again, we have a lot of details about this Vincent person, who he is, but those aren't events in the story to help with our summary. Page 16, this is the last page we're going to read for today. Maybe Lincoln said to himself, Mom was right after all. She had not wanted him to take the trip to the Arctic. Alice Stonewright had really never said why, not even that it was dangerous or that she would miss him, but she had let his father know exactly how she felt. Frederick, she said to Lincoln's father one April evening shortly before Lincoln was to leave, I'm going to say this once more. I don't think Lincoln should go to Barrow. It's not necessary at all. Her sandy eyelashes had lowered to her pale blue eyes, too light to hide her anger. She's sure mad about this one, Lincoln had mused, then given up trying to understand what was going on between his mother and father. Fortunately, they were all at dinner, seated in a big mahogany dining table of Lincoln's great-great-grandfather's house, which now belonged to his father. Lincoln could concentrate on balancing his peas on his knife instead of listening once more to this argument. But there was no argument. His father did not answer. The only sounds Lincoln had heard were the clicks of silverware against the china plates of the thumbs of the waves hammering on the bay shore at the bottom of the big lawn. The plans were firm. So maybe the last event is that his mom didn't really want him to go to Barrow. So we're going to pause there for today. Open up your close reading packet to this page, and we're going to read the directions. Read water, sky. We read paragraphs 1 through 16. And annotate key events. Why is Lincoln in Alaska? List the key events and then write a brief summary. Okay, so I would like you to write down 5 key events that happened in our story on the key events page. And then I would like you to write a summary. What has happened in our story so far? Go do that now. All right, so you should have written down 5 key events. The summary is kind of the beginning portion of our story. So remember, think of somebody wanted but then so. We're not really at the end of our solution yet, but we do kind of have a problem going on. We have Lincoln is in Alaska. He's going to visit Alaska to meet this Vincent guy, but Vincent is not there to get him. So there is this other boy, Cusick, who's there to kind of talk to Lincoln, and we'll learn more of the story the next day. After you've done your 5 key events and your summary, we're going to go to the question on the bottom. The question on the bottom says, choose 3 key details to create a summary of the story so far. Put the events in order, in time order, by writing a number for 1 first and 3 last on the line next to the event. So what you need to do is you need to pick out 3 key events from those details and then put them in order. I would cross off ones that are not big events that kind of move the story, and I would go and choose the ones that are really important, then put them in sequence order. Go do that. Then what I would like you to do is type out the summary on your log by typing out the 3 different sentences that you chose. All right, and that is it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope this lesson helped you. Go fill out your log and complete your work. Bye. Thank you.